I was like, how would I elevator pitch this movie? And what I finally settled on was this movie is about two tennis-loving sociopaths and the one tennis-loving puppy that gets stuck in the middle of them.
See, that's so interesting because I've been pitching it as this movie is basically Wicked Beauty if Helen had married Patroclus and like after fucking Achilles and then it got messy.
Yeah.
But I also am firmly Tashi and Patrick did nothing wrong and you can't convince me otherwise. So I think this is going to be a really interesting conversation.
Okay. I don't think they did anything wrong.
I hate art. I hate art.
I did not like art.
I reached the point, I hated all three of them.
Yeah.
By the final scene, I was sitting there like, I fucking hate all three of these characters. I don't understand. Why have I watched this movie? I hate it, I hate it, I hate it. And then the last thing happens, and it completely changed my understanding of the entire movie. Yes. And I've never had that much of a turnaround on anything ever.
I also have seen it pitched as two boys who love each other and a girl who loves tennis, which is also accurate.
Oh, yes. That's accurate.
Yeah. I'm Melody Carlisle.
And I'm Sabrina Bradley.
And this is Heaving Bosoms. This is the podcast where best friends recap romance novels and other kissing media that makes us swoon, snark, and refills our cups.
Whether you've read the book or are coming in blind, we'll lay bare every delicious scene and revel in the tropes and subgenres that make romance amazing.
All right, listener, strap in and strap on. Headphones are highly recommended.
We're doing it. It's happening.
We're doing it.
Oh my God, hello, beautiful friends.
Hello.
I'm so excited to be here. I'm not crying. I'm just choking on boba. It's fine.
And even if you were crying,
we're here for your big feelings.
Oh my God. Hey, what's new with you? Do you have like a giant thing happening right now? Just out of like tiny curiosity. No ulterior motive whatsoever.
Just a tiny little Kickstarter, itty bitty, really. Yeah, we just launched, I don't know, Time's a Flat Surface, recently launched the Black Rose Auction Kickstarter, and it's doing all right. It's
as of this second, it's at like $500,000, which is
incredible.
Monopoly money. Like, at what point is it just fake money? Those are not real numbers.
When we hit Brandon Sanderson money, then it's fake money.
That's fake money.
There you
That's
go.
not
That's
real.
It. No, but the 3,000 backers are certainly a real number that make me so, so happy. Oh my God.
Oh, and the books are real good. I'm really excited for people to read them.
I mean, seriously, they're all fairy tale retellings.
They are. And they all kind of cross through this like illicit, super deep and sexy and whatever
underground
auction.
Ooh.
Yeah, sexy.
Exclusive,
underground, right?
Dangerous. Yeah. Everybody went hard. I mean, boy, did Sarah Kate just come out with like, I want to do Cinderella, but Wicked Stepsister is wicked in the best possible way, and it's a triad with the prince and Cinderella and the Wicked Stepsister.
Oh my God, Sarah Kate.
R.M. Virtues was like, I'm going to write this romance. And we're like, yeah, write that romance. And he's like, oh, there's a side character named Paul, but I named him Paul because like he's not sexy. And Paul keeps showing up and being sexy. And I think I might have to change Paul's name and make this a menage. And we're like, yes.
Yeah. So Paul got a new name because he had to be part of the romance.
Indeed.
So yeah, everybody, I feel like they just had fun with it, and it's been kind of crazy. Yeah, it's good.
Yeah. Absolutely. So I wasn't a part of this one this year. And like, oh man, every time I see an update on like the packaging or the amazing swag that y'all put together, there's like this metal bookmark. The goddamn tumbler with the rose sculpture on the bottom of it? How dare you?
Yeah.
How dare both of you so much?
We're children, right?
No, it's so sexy. It's so sleek.
So the bookmark, fun fact, Katee designed it.
I designed it. I put it together in
How?
Canva,
Katee.
and I was like this, sorta, and they just made it.
Yeah. Because we did the first one and it wasn't right. And then Katee was like, no, more like this. And she just like disappears in Canva, does some stuff, comes back and is like, here's bookmark. And then they went and made a fucking mold from that. And magic, Katee is now a bookmark designer, in case you were wondering what other skills she's got up her sleeve.
I mean, seriously. Like, Katee, we've always known that you were a Canva wizard, but this is a level even you hadn't reached yet. Like, you've outdone yourself again.
Well, and the rose glass is kind of you too. You were like, what if we did, because we kind of came up with like the idea, and you were like, what if it was like the bottom was...
It's because the gnome glasses.
Oh, yeah.
I have these gnome glasses that have like, which people think is a penis. It's not a penis, it's a gnome. We drowned the gnome. And I was like, what if, like, that, it's delightful. It brings me such delight every time I murder him. And I wanted to bring that delight to people. Just no murder, just roses. It's roses. It's fine. Everything is fine.
I mean, they're gorgeous. They're gorgeous, and it's bananas. And I'm blown away. Oh, my God. So the Kickstarter ends on the 25th, right?
26th at 5 p.m. Pacific time.
When this episode comes out, the Kickstarter will be ending in 2 days. So go to there right now, everybody. You can just Google Kickstarter Black Rose Auction, because hot damn, it's so sleek, it's so sexy, it's bananas. Okay, so what happened to us? Because I cannot wait to talk about this movie. We're talking about Challengers with Zendaya.
Dude, can we preface with like how we ended up doing this movie?
Yes, please.
Katee gets the blame.
Me. I take all credit and blame, and I'm okay with it. So I had seen like a preview of it, like way back when it came out, and I was like, I'm not impressed. I was like, these two dudes are kind of mid, and Zendaya's hot, but like, who did they find to be her partner? Like, this is silly. And then I put it from my mind, because I was like, I'm good. I'll just see it when I see it, or not. Never. It's fine. I don't really watch much TV anymore. And so then I started getting interviews of them, and I was like, oh, these people their chemistry is really good in interviews. And like this kind of like, oh, you have to watch it 3 times, and like people giving Zendaya shit for, or not like politely, for her character Tashi. And I was like, all right, I'm intrigued. Okay. And I went and saw it with my husband and my kids, my elder kids, teenagers. And the entire time I was just like, yes, this movie is so sexy and messy, and like, and I immediately forced Mel and Jenny to watch it and recap it.
I'm so happy. I never would have watched this movie. It never would have happened. I didn't know it existed until we started talking about it. So I don't know what's going on. Michael didn't know it existed. He walked in and he was like, what is this? Was this made in like 2012? And I was like, no, it's just the TV. Stop it. Anyway, that's a total side story.
Yeah, I had no idea what it was going in. Like, I knew there were the 3 of them, and Katee sent me a couple TikToks to be like, Jenny, please watch it. Please. But I knew, like, fuck all about this movie. So it starts, I didn't know if it was like a horror. I didn't know if it was a thriller. Like, it started and I was like, there's so much tension, and I don't understand what I'm supposed to do.
The music had no business going so hard.
The music is one of the most brilliant things I've ever heard in my life.
I learned today it's 9 Inch Nails.
Yes, it's the front man from 9 Inch Nails.
It's Trent Reznor and Atticus, what's his face?
That's the one.
And I had no idea that they have done the score to a bunch of movies until I went and looked it up today and was like, who the fuck did the music for this? And I was like, it sounds like 9 Inch Nails. It is fucking 9 Inch Nails.
It is. I forgot how I liked 9 Inch Nails.
Before we get into it, I have a very important, vital question. Who did you walk away for that movie going like, fuck yeah, that character? And who did you go away going, fuck that character? I would like to know so much.
Oh, that's a tough one. That's a tough one. Because, okay, the way that I was like, how would I elevator pitch this movie? And what I finally settled on was this movie is about two tennis-loving sociopaths and the one tennis-loving puppy that gets stuck in the middle of them.
See, that's so interesting because I've been pitching it as this movie is basically Wicked Beauty if Helen had married Patroclus and like after fucking Achilles and then it got messy.
Yeah.
But I also am firmly Tashi and Patrick did nothing wrong and you can't convince me otherwise. So I think this is going to be a really interesting conversation.
Okay. I don't think they did anything wrong.
I hate art.
I did not like art.
I reached the point, I hated all three of them.
Yeah.
By the final scene, I was sitting there like, I fucking hate all three of these characters. I don't understand. Why have I watched this movie? I hate it, I hate it, I hate it. And then the last thing happens, and it completely changed my understanding of the entire movie.
Yes.
And I've never had that much of a turnaround on anything ever.
I also have seen it pitched as two boys who love each other and a girl who loves tennis, which is also accurate.
Oh,
Yes.
that's accurate.
Yeah.
Wait. Okay, I'm so excited to talk to two humans who are smarter than me in very important ways. You know what I mean? Like, we all bring something different to the table because...
Oh, that's a lot of pressure.
No,
if you're
not
about
even
to
close.
ask what this,
That's just
what does any
friendship.
of it mean?
No, but I literally have no idea what happened at the end, and I can't wait to hear your takes on it. I have like 4 different theories on what the fuck it means and where they're going and what's happening.
I have barely resisted the urge to look up fanfic because I know there's quite a bit of it. In my personal opinion,
Yeah.
You know what? No, it's
Wait,
my
don't
fanfic.
tell me now.
They go
Don't
on-
tell me now.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, wait, we gotta get there. We gotta get there.
Okay. So, all right, listener, 2 chief things that I think are really important for you to know right now. It's not 2 chief things. It's one thing with 2 components. And that is the entire soundtrack is made up of ancient choral music sung by little kids and electronica that just like gets into your bones.
And
You know?
Nellie's hot in here. We cannot skip
Oh
over
my God,
Nellie's hot in
Nellie's hot in here. Oh my God.
There's some other, like, music of that era. I can't even think
Yeah.
of which songs now, but I was like, oh, they're trying to, like, center us, and it's, like, playing in the background when they're in the dining hall and stuff.
They
and I
put
was
me
like,
there.
oh, I'm having a
No,
throwback.
I was there. I was viscerally there when those songs came on.
And so this movie is essentially the framing of this movie is one tennis game between character Patrick and character Art. Now, as like in their early 30s, I don't know, I can't
They're
do
both
math.
like 31.
31.
Yeah.
And so on my initial watch through, there's a couple scenes I was like, is this a flashback? Is this a current times? They all look the same. I don't know. But on the
True.
second watch through, I figured it out. So
The hair. You gotta, the hair.
Oh, I love it. Yeah.
I need to start by explaining, and if either of you explain the rules to me, I'm gonna hang up.
Okay.
I pride myself on I do not understand
because you're not
tennis. I do not know
supposed
the
to.
rules of tennis. I don't fucking get it. I don't know what the weird scoring. I don't
The
know what the matches
royalty-
are. I know the ball has to stay like in and you whack
I
it back
played
and forth,
tennis
but like
in
that
high
is
school.
it.
I was very bad. I was on C squad, but they I'm
Me
pretty
too.
fucking sure they the scoring is wonky because like the aristocrats were like, we don't want these fucking poor people playing our game, and so we're gonna make it hard for them to understand. So
They did the Catholic Church on math.
I
The Catholic Church was like, we'll only
don't
talk in
want
Latin.
to know. I don't understand.
I will say I don't understand the set system, but like I don't need to. It's fine.
So the other thing that happened for me is that at least at first, before the EDM music came on, I got thrown immediately back to watching tennis with my Nana on the lanai in Hawaii because my Nana was like a huge tennis and golf fan. What a monster
Oh.
as far as the golf is concerned.
Okay, tennis and golf are the same.
they're a
right?
bunch of
They are the same.
mostly white rich people.
You're
Like, it's-
allowed to grunt way more in tennis.
Oh, those grunts. I'm like, you're making this sexual on purpose. Like, especially, I think it was Art that was like, and I was like, what are, sir?
He had kind of a like like a sissy boy sex noise.
I kind of
Was
love
that
it.
grunt?
It was just like a
It fit
like
the character really well.
He is Zendaya's sissy boy. I don't know. I don't know how I
he's-
feel about
he's
it.
also
but I love it, but I hate it.
Patrick's sissy boy. Let's be honest here. Okay, carry on.
Yes. Yeah,
So-
you're right. Okay, so we are in New Rochelle, New York, and we're at a tournament that turns out to be like a tournament for up-and-comers, losers, and washed-up pros.
We don't
Think.
know.
Well, because so
It's what they are.
the point
Fine.
is that they're in their early 30s. Zendaya's character Tashi is married to Art, who's the blonde one, and it is the weirdest fucking marriage. She hates him. She hates him so much, and he just like also hates her, but doesn't want to admit it, in my opinion. And he is like big ass tennis bro. He's done the thing. He's, I think, won 3 out of 4 of rubber tournament. Doesn't matter.
Sure.
But he got injured, right? And so he's coming back from an
Tennis stuff.
injury, and she's his coach, and she's pressing him really hard, and he loses this match that should have been an easy win to like a young up and comer. So she's like, "We're gonna get your confidence back." And so she puts him in this challengers tournament, which the challengers tournament are the people who win that are eligible to try out for the really fancy big tournaments like the US Open or whatever. I've learned
Right.
things. Listen, it's
Yeah.
only relevant because it's like Mel said, it's the nobodies. It's the people who don't have guaranteed spots. So if you're, say,
my God, I'm so sorry. My
271
child.
ranked,
Hi, babe. Good night. I love you so much. Mwah. You want to say hi to Auntie Katie and Auntie Jenny? Say hi. Okay. I love you. Go to bed.
Hi.
Have a
I know you
great
can't
time.
hear me, but you're the cutest.
precious babies.
Bye, babe. She scares me every time. Like, I don't know. I know that's a me problem because I'm a rouse, as Michael calls me, a rodent of unusual size. But still.
You just start skittering.
Yeah, so
Okay, go ahead.
they're attending the Challenger, or he's in the Challengers. He got like a special little invite because he's so big. Woo-wah, brr.
Yeah,
But
he's got the wild
It's
card.
like the like fancy league soccer players going to like play the
Yes.
YMCA team or whatever.
Yeah.
Like they're trying. Looking for like some easy
Yeah,
wins
get your confidence back.
to boost his
She
confidence.
also is trying to humiliate him. She also
Yes.
is like, you can't play against real people, so you're gonna play against these fuckers.
Okay, there are so many moments in this movie. Listener, I A, suggest you watch it, and B, suggest you watch it more than once. Because I caught things the second watch that like I never would have caught.
You see a lot of things mirrored, like 2 characters will do it, and then they'll do it with another character, very like almost identical. Like it's very satisfying rewatch.
Yeah, and like they're the type of people who are written by talented writers, and so they remember all of the in-jokes and all of the things they've said to each other verbatim over like the last 15 years. It's totally, it's like I do it all the time, you know what I mean? Like that's definitely how my brain works too. Sure.
Yeah, remember everything.
Yeah, but like we're talking about this guy and he sounds impressive. But listener, I need you to know that he is absolutely not impressive. He is a kicked puppy who has zero self-confidence. He like wants to, he's like, I feel like he's in that part of semi-abusive relationship where like he like wants to please her, but now is at the point where like he's mad about the fact that like he realizes he never can. And I'm not saying that she's abusive to him. I'm saying they're toxic for each other and they shouldn't be together, period.
See, this is why I'm so excited to talk about this movie with y'all, because I think Art's a psychic vampire or emotional vampire. He gloms on
Ooh,
to
I would
these
agree with
people,
that.
these very strong personalities, which both Tashi and Patrick are incredibly strong personalities, very confident and whatever. And he's a little fucking snake. He's so manipulative.
Yeah.
Even in their marriage, like he says stuff, and I think he leans into the kicked puppy thing because it makes people underestimate him. But also, like, I view him as an equal part. Like I don't think everything he does is so fucking calculated.
He made all of his choices.
Like I hate him. I hate him.
Yeah, absolutely. So when we get there, like every single scene they're in, she's either talking to him about how he's super shitty at tennis now, or they're both just sitting in silence. And like every once in a while, they'll look at each other despondently and then look away slowly. And all of this is like in the lead up to a game and stuff when like, you should be getting in the zone or whatever. And so they decide to go to this tournament and then we switch perspectives. And now we're here with Patrick, who is a charismatic sociopathic narcissist who is incredibly charming, but I do not have the energy for in my life at this point in time.
He's got a smirk. He's got a stupid little smirk that I just want to
that
I don't know.
half smile situation, the one-sided smile.
Does not do it for me, except on 2 occasions. I do not find him charming or appealing in any way. I find him like a greasy skis bag, like 90% of the time, with the exception of the 2 times that he grabs somebody and like gets in their face. He does it once to each of them. He does it to her in the car.
To
and he
Art
does
in the
it
cafeteria with the churros.
In the cafeteria.
In the cafeteria, yeah. And that was when I was like, oh, I see it. But then the rest of the time I'm like, no, what the hell does anybody see in this guy?
It's because he really leans into like the fuck boy, but he's definitely smarter than anybody gives him credit for.
Sure. Yeah, he gets people to underestimate him in different ways. So we're, in his perspective, he's getting rejected by a motel because he has no money and they won't let him sleep there for free. Like, how dare they? So he has to sleep in his car.
Even though he's a trust fund baby, so he's like making his own way, even though he could have gone to daddy and asked for money. Because both him and Art are rich as shit.
I'm so annoyed about this.
Yeah, I didn't know what I was supposed to do with that revelation. It made me hate him more because I was like, ugh, you're like mooching off of these women that you're picking up on, I'm getting ahead of it, on dating apps when like you don't need to be doing that.
No, he doesn't. But he's living his dream, Jenny. He's living his dream of being the 271st ranked
hate it.
tennis player.
Listen, one time Zendaya looked him straight in his face and said, you can hit a ball with a racket and you've got a big dick. So like, go do that. And he was like, done and done. That's my philosophy for the rest of my life. Thank you so much.
So, and also it's the interesting thing about this movie is it's so focused on the 3 of them. Like, you don't see anybody's family. You don't see the key points in their relationship without the third person involved. Like, you don't see her and Art get married. You don't see anything about, I'm getting ahead of myself, but like, it's so interesting how they positioned telling this story.
Well, and it's a time travel movie in that we flash back and forth between like now and then 8 years ago and then 12 years ago and then 3 weeks ago and then 2 weeks ago. And then like, it's all over the place. And you just have to pay attention to people's haircuts. Is what I finally settled on. As Zendaya's hair gets shorter, she's getting older. Is how that works.
That's exactly. I appreciate.
And you have like the floppy hair on Art, like the curly floppy boy hair versus his like white man hair.
And Patrick, he looks young and boyish, or he has scruff. Those are the 2 real serious things for him. So, wow. When we finally get there, he is like mooching. He sleeps in the parking lot. Then he gets half a sandwich from like one of the ladies who works there for breakfast.
That was pathetic.
It was incredible. Wow. And then he finds out that Art is going to be there. And he gets this like look on his face. And then we go back.
We go back to like meeting them. So basically, Art and Patrick were best friends. They were in like some private ass academy tennis school. I don't know. It doesn't matter. Together.
From like the age of 12 onwards, they've been roommates.
Best friends. Patrick is obviously sexually in love with Art. Art seems a little oblivious. Because like there's so many tells, like he grabs his leg, like he's...
Oh, yeah.
So they're good, very good at tennis. They're at some junior nationals, something or other, whatever fuck. They win doubles together and have a very homoerotic moment rolling around on the tennis court together. Like they're so
touchy-feely, affectionate.
Yeah. And there's this whole moment after that where the Art's like, hey, you got to let me win, because they're playing singles against each other the next day or whatever. He's like, you got to let me win because like my grandma's dying of a stroke or some shit. And Patrick's like, yeah, sure. Like, I don't give a shit. I'll let you win. I don't care. But like Patrick has clocked Tashi long before this. Like, so he kind of drags Art to her game. And they're all 18 roundabouts at this point. Yeah, because they're all going to college, or two of them are. And so they go watch Tashi's game, and she's just like the best there ever was. Like, she's like amazing, fierce, confident.
She's just owning.
Like, that game is so interesting because they get so like into it, and like I said, there's some leg grabbing going on.
Yes. And you see that like they know each other so well and they're so in sync that like their mannerisms are synced up. Like they end up leaning back at the same time with the same like arm situation. It's incredibly well choreographed. And they're like drooling over Tashi, who is played by Zendaya. They have the stupidest
look on their face. I loved it. They're just like it looks
I loved it.
Like a celebrity just walked in front of like two teenagers or whoever's hot right now. I don't know, Margot Robbie. And they're just like, oh my God, I can't believe we're breathing the same air as this person. Like they know they are outclassed. And the difference is that Patrick doesn't give a shit if he's outclassed, and Art's like, no, it's fine. Like,
yeah, absolutely. So they decide to go to the party that she's throwing because she just won like the juniors open, I guess. The whatever.
Thing.
She's got a scholarship. She's going to Stanford. She's a big deal.
Yeah. So they show up at this party, and Patrick, this dirty, dirty boy, at one point, it was just very important to me. They're talking about how hot she is and how she's going to build an empire, and Patrick leans over to Art and very quietly whispers, I would let her fuck me with a racket.
Yeah,
what?
He would. You know she has. You cannot convince me she has not done it by the end of the movie.
Oh, I love it so much. So they watch her dance when they finally see her. That's when we get Hot in Here happening.
Which apparently, like, the song they were dancing to when filming was not actually Hot in Here, because Zendaya's like, I would not have danced like that to Hot in Here.
You can tell it like doesn't sync up, and it
no.
Like the style is all wrong. They really did Zendaya dirty on that one, you know.
But the rest of us got to enjoy it.
Absolutely. Yeah, I was fine with it. And then they decide to go up to her, and they're both like, oh, hey, hi, I'm Patrick and I'm Art. Hi,
They're
hey.
so eager.
She's like, I know who you are. They're so eager, and she is so aloof and cool.
Well, because she's not fucking around.
No, she's not.
I don't know any professional athletes, but I feel like when you're kind of inoculated into that culture, like she's obviously been like, you're destined for greatness. Here's your fucking plan. And like at one point, like in that conversation, Patrick's like, why aren't you going pro? Like you're good enough. And then he's like, oh, I see. You're making them wait for you.
Yeah.
Because like he gets it. He's like, oh, you're playing a game. Like you're making them wait for you. And then you're coming out of the gate big after college.
And like the whole image thing of like, oh no, she's going to college and she wants to have more going for herself. And like he sees through the public perception piece that they are trying to like
and
feed
I
everyone.
Feel like that's the crux of my feelings on the three of them is I think Art sees a persona of her, and frankly of Patrick too, but to a lesser degree, but of her, whereas Patrick sees closer to the reality of her because she's vicious with him in a way that she's not with anybody else.
She's vicious with both of them, but in very different ways.
That's fair.
Yeah.
But she really gets to like her base self in front of Patrick. And I feel like in front of Art, her husband, poor thing, she always has some sort of facade up for him or to deflect him.
Yeah, she's locked down. Hell locked down.
It's a mess. Anyway, so then they wait around like chumps and finally get her attention again hours later at this party. And
like
they convince her to go down to the
Everyone's
beach.
leaving. She's like one of the last ones out. And they're like, oh, hey, we're just still here. So weird.
Mm-hmm.
So they go down to the beach with her.
And the conversation they have about tennis is something I want to talk about for no less than 8.5 hours. She tells him that like you don't understand what tennis is. She's talking to Patrick because Art has said not a word. Art is just sitting there
staring,
and like
drooling.
watching the two of them.
But
like banter back and forth and like I don't even think he wants to be in the mix. I think he literally just enjoys watching these two people kind of battle it out together.
See, and that dynamic is why I'm like, oh yeah, no, they ended up together. Because like he needs both of them to balance out his fucking
Yes.
and they need somebody to like rein him back a little bit. Yeah.
To
level them
like,
out. Yeah.
Yeah.
So anyway, he says, I'm going pro because hitting a ball with a racket is a great way to avoid getting a job. And she says, but that's your problem. You think tennis is about like expressing yourself and doing your thing. And that's not at all what it's about. Tennis is a relationship. And then she starts to explain that with like the lady that she played today in the US Open. And even now she's an arrogant asshole. And I loved every moment of it. Because she was like, yeah, for about 15 seconds there, we were actually playing tennis and like we ascended. And this was really interesting to me because she said, it's like we were in love or like we didn't exist.
Yeah.
Because those two things are the same to her? Is that what that means?
I mean,
She loses herself in love? She no longer exists if she gives her heart to someone?
well, and because at the end of that game with the other chick, she yelled like, come on, or whatever, or like, and so Art, that's like one of the few things he says. He's like, why did you yell at the end of it? And it's like, it's because she
he
was
says,
in that
I've
moment,
never seen anything like it.
Yeah. It's because she, in that was the 15 seconds of like nothingness or relationship or being in love where she was like so into it.
Well, that is her perception of the game sort of sets up, it kind of frames the later game for us that like this is more than a game of tennis and those 15 seconds between them are more than a game of tennis.
Yeah. So then they're like, well, you know, if you ever want to like come by our apartment, our hotel room, we got beer and stuff, and like, you know, let us know. And then they do the weirdest thing in the whole wide world. If you think somebody might come over, what are they doing?
It's because they don't think she's showing up. They're in their underwear smoking pot or smoking. And filthy room.
There's just like mess everywhere.
And they were talking about like, but what if she does come?
They're teenage boys.
Yes.
But like, haven't you ever had that conversation in high school or whenever, being like, oh my God, if they call, and like they're definitely going to call and we're definitely going to go do this thing, even though you know in your heart of hearts that shit is not going to happen and you're going to sit in your room all night.
And I was dressed for it. You know? Like I had.
That's fair.
Because you were a teenage girl.
Fair enough. Anyway, so they're also talking about like the logistics, and this Art is like, what? She's going to be into one of us and we're going to start making out and the other one's going to like sit in the bathroom while they bang. And Patrick's like, yeah, if it comes to that, sure. Like, whatever needs to get done to make this happen is what I'll do.
Which, you know, frankly, is consistent throughout the movie. So.
Yeah, absolutely. So Zendaya comes in and they're drinking and they're like hanging out, and she is trying to get like more information about them because she doesn't want to be a homewrecker, she says, because she can tell they're really important to each other and they're both going after her at the same time. And she's finally like, so have you guys, you know, ever like touched hips or anything? And they're like, what? No, absolutely not.
But Patrick's like intense stare at Art for just a beat too long. That's like, yeah, bud, you've thought about it. Like a lot.
It turns out Patrick taught Art how to masturbate when they were 12. Like, you know, he talked him through it after Art caught him doing it in the middle of the night.
He coached him.
And he shares, like, Art's, like, hiding in his shirt, which I felt was the most relatable I found Art was in that moment of him being like, what if I just burned my shirt and, like, pretended I didn't exist? Because Patrick's, like, it's interesting because he's sharing those details, which, like, should be straight up him humiliating, like, throwing Art under the bus, but it feels so fond that, like, I almost can't consider it that, because he's just like, well, he just didn't know what to do. He just made a mess of himself. Like, he hadn't figured out the sock stuff yet. Like, it was just so, like, it
was like loving and not like he was trying to do the mean teenage boy humiliate my friend thing.
Yeah. And Art, as much as he's humiliated, he's like giggling along with it and being like, yep, this is happening right now. Okay, great.
Yep.
So Zendaya is like, we're out of beer and there's only one other option of activity in my mind. So she sits down on the bed and she like pats the bed next to her. And they're like, Art tries to be like, who do you want? And
Patrick's like, nope.
Patrick just zooms over. Yeah. And Art immediately goes over as well. And then she starts initiating like a little three-way situation.
But you can't convince me that she didn't do that being like, oh, they watch each other masturbate. I'm picking up tension. I bet if we just...
Yeah, she was just trying to, like, get them to, and she, like, gets them to both kiss her, and then she backs up, and boy, are they then kissing, and she smiles like a fucking sociopath, like, yep, mission accomplished. Like, and then she fucks off. No, she doesn't quite fuck off yet, but that's her done. Like, that's all she wanted to do. To accomplish.
Yeah, like, they were her, like, G.I. Joes, and she was setting the scene to make them march off together.
As much as she's like, I don't want to be a homewrecker, it's like, oh, you're setting yourself up intentionally to be the homewrecker. Because then she's like, oh, and they're like, oh, you're not going to give us your number? And she's like, which one? And they're like, oh, both. And she's like, okay, well, whoever wins the game tomorrow can get my number because I want to watch some good fucking tennis.
And she tells Art, like, you could beat him, you know.
And the only reason she says this is because tomorrow she wants to watch good tennis. She doesn't want to be bored tomorrow. And so this is your incentive, boys. And, like, I feel like that's how she views all humans who aren't herself. They're just, like, pieces
I think she views
that she can
herself
put...
like that, too. All she gives a shit about is tennis.
Ooh.
All she gives a shit. Like, because even, like, Patrick at one point is like, can't we talk about something other than tennis? She's like what? Like, that's the only thing she cares about.
I mean, that comes later, but that's when she, like, turns on him. Yeah.
Yeah.
She's, like, insulted at the very idea that he's... like giving her shit for that.
Right. And okay, so earlier when they were talking about maybe Patrick letting Art win, Patrick was like, oh yeah, well, the winner of the junior whatever is cursed. Usually they only end up in like the top 300 in later on in their career.
Oh, I miss that.
So
I missed that too.
So then I thought that was so interesting because Art was like, oh, that's not really a thing. Patrick's like, I don't know. And then afterwards, as they're like sitting there, Art looks at Patrick and he's like, so about you letting me win for my grandma, like who might have a stroke at any moment. Patrick's like, that was hours ago. That was a lifetime
and then he just
ago.
Slaps the shit out of his boner, like so aggressively. Sir, you didn't have to go that hard.
Moment. Oh, it was the only way he was going to touch his boner.
I know.
Like,
I know. Oh, if they had just had sex, I don't think this movie would have happened. Like, I think they would have just...
Yeah.
So Patrick wins. Patrick super wins the game. And...
he gets Tashi's number. And then...
And he does it with fancy in-between leg stuff.
Yeah.
Which, I don't know. Every time he wins something, it's usually because he's, like, hit the ball from between his legs.
That's true. He did that in the doubles game, too, didn't he? Yeah.
Yeah, he did a backwards in between the legs shot. Like, that's incredible. And then he bows as if he's like a knight asking for a lady's favor. He's just like, oh, madame. He's like that guy in The Knight's Tale. You know what I mean? So he gets her number and they end up going on a date. But then I think we have to fast forward because Patrick wins the first game. And like with this game, we're watching the two boys play on either side. And straight down the line of the net is Tashi sitting there watching everything play out. And she's very, very worried. And then we get a conversation between Tashi and Patrick, like from earlier in the week, when he's taking advantage of that poor, lonely Tinder lady. And he's like, I just need somewhere to stay. And then he abandoned her at the bar.
Yeah, so Tashi sees him in this, like, they're in this fancy-ass hotel, and she sees him, and he's got, like, he instantly is like, is my date talking? I don't give a shit. There's the woman of my dreams.
And his date is nice. She's trying so hard.
She's like, tennis? I don't really get it. Explain it to me. Me too, girl. And so, like, Tashi sends her mother and daughter, because she has a daughter with Art, up to the room, and obviously is waiting to have a conversation with Patrick. So he fucks right over there. It's like, sup, girl? And she's not happy. She's like, what the fuck are you doing here? Like, you can't afford to be here. And he's like, oh, why aren't you, like, didn't you rent a fucking whatever? And she's
villa.
like, Lily likes hotels. Now, I have a comment about this, but I'm going to save it till we get there. And he's like, Lily, and she's like, our daughter. And then she's like, stay the fuck away from my family. Get the fuck out of here. Are you on a date right now, motherfucker? Like, she's not having it.
Yeah.
And he almost walks off without going back to his date. Like, he's so distracted by her and, like, consumed by her.
But then he realizes he does still need somewhere to stay, so he goes back and starts moving out with his
thinking of
date.
Tashi, obviously.
Yeah. And while they're still talking, she says, Art can't see us together or talking. So, like, you need to get the fuck out because he already thinks I orchestrated this whole thing to humiliate him.
Yeah.
And he goes, didn't you? And she goes, not this part. And then she gets on the she is savage the whole time.
She is. And I fucking love it
I
because
loved
she
it.
also has this kind of stink face that she only ever gives to Patrick. Yeah. Like, Art gets it like once or twice, but she really gives it to Patrick. Like, bitch, I'm not impressed by you. Like, can you hear yourself right now?
Yeah.
I'm like, I would like to recreate this face.
Like, just absolutely disgusted.
Yeah.
It's so good. Now we have to go back in the day, like 12 years earlier. Art and Patrick are gonna do like practice together. And Art wants to know if they fucked on their date. And Patrick's like, I'm not telling you that. And Art's like, since when? And he goes, well, since she told me that she wouldn't see me anymore if I did tell anybody. And Art's like, we're an amoeba. She would know that you're going to tell me.
Yeah.
And he's like, I didn't hear any exceptions. So, like, no. And the way that I shouted later on in the movie, like, oh my God, he's going to do this thing in my office at full volume was not artful at all.
Yep.
So Art has this customary serve thing, like his tell or whatever, which I was like, is it a tell or is it just how he serves? He puts the ball into the little triangle thing under the main part of the racket, like, and then lifts and then serves. And so Patrick's like, well, I won't tell you, but if I serve like you, then you'll know what happened. And Art's like, yeah, like grinning, like totally, like, yeah, totally. And then he serves like that.
Egging him on.
And when he has his head down.
And it means I fucked her.
And when he has his head down, Art's whole face falls into this but also again, like, I've been Art, like, deeply in love with both parties that are dating each other, and it fucking sucks, but also he's feeding into it. He could have just not asked these things. He's tormenting himself with this shit. And knowing that him and her are both, Art and Tashi are both going to Stanford, and Patrick's going pro. So that is, like, necessary information.
I think Art has kind of a cuckold thing about it. Like, I think he wants that torment. And I think that comes up a couple times later where, like, I think he's kind of into it.
That's fair.
I mean, I agree. I don't think he knows it at this point, you know?
He's a
like,
baby.
I think he's truly heartbroken.
I don't know that he ever really understands that, but he does keep going back for more, and, like, it's muddled. It's not, he doesn't react the way that we would react to infidelity or, like, hearing your best friend is fucking the woman. Like, it's twisty for him.
Yeah, no, he definitely has some kind of, like, something.
And so then we're going to go, like, we end up playing more present day tennis, but then we go back to a few months later. Tashi and Art are at Stanford, and he comes over when she's practicing. And he's like, do you want to go out to lunch afterwards?
And you get the feeling that they don't, like, hang out. Like, they see each other, but they don't, they're not, like, buddies or anything.
Yeah. So they go to lunch and he starts probing. And he's like, oh, yeah, so I'm kind of shocked that you and Patrick are actually seeing each other. Like, that's so weird. She's like, why? Does that mean that he's, like, seeing other ladies on the tour? And he's like, oh, no, I don't know anything like that. I couldn't confirm or deny something like that. And then she's like, Art, this is fucked up. You're the worst friend ever. It's total bullshit, and I'm getting up now.
Before she says that, he's like, he doesn't love you. He doesn't love you.
He doesn't love you,
and then she's like, you're the worst fucking friend ever.
Yeah. As she's getting up to walk away, he says, he doesn't love you. And she turns around and she says, what the fuck makes you think I want somebody to love me? And then he says, I guess not. Okay, fine. Like, he totally backs down. And then as she's walking away again, he says, don't you think you deserve it?
Because he's just needling. He's fucking needling. Like, she's so strong.
And so then he does the same thing to
But
Patrick.
clocks him
And,
immediately.
Yeah.
And that's when we get
They both block him immediately, but it
That's
still
true.
ends
That's
up
true.
in
But
their little
Patrick's
brains.
delighted by it. Patrick is
Patrick
so like they're
loves
eating
this.
churros because Patrick has shown up to like support Tashi. There's something college going on.
Yeah.
And Patrick's has shown up to support Tashi, but he seeks out Art first. And they have this goofy little, like, they're still boys, like, run around.
Oh
the
my
thing.
God, this hello is like the cutest, sweetest thing in the
They
whole wide
love
world.
each
and I
other
wanted
so much.
They love each other.
Yeah.
So they go get churros. And this scene, again, I watched a bunch of interviews on this before I watched this thing. This scene was literally one line in the script. This was all kind of improv, like the tension and shit. So they're eating churros. And as they go to eat churros, I think Art pulls the seat closer. So they're sitting very close together. And Art's like,
no. So
go.
wait,
Yeah,
Patrick
go.
pulls Art's seat closer.
Oh, that's
and
what it is. Okay.
Art doesn't blink. He's like,
No.
this is totally normal. This is something we do all the time. And so now they're sitting incredibly close. Like I mean,
so close.
Uncomfortable for me as a viewer, you know?
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, so then they're talking and he's like, wow, I didn't think that, she was, based on our conversation we had a while ago, it seems like she's not really taking your relationship seriously.
Because he's kind of probing on Patrick's vibe of like, oh, are you really like actually into her? And he's like, yeah, she might make an honest man of me. Like he's legitimately in it.
He loves her.
Very, like he's stopped fucking around as far as like we're led to believe anyways. Like he hasn't done that.
Hasn't been hooking up on the tour.
And this has been a year. This has been a year since they've been dating.
Oh, yeah. Oh, shit.
Yeah, this is like May. Yeah.
Whoa. So Patrick is like, I love this. He's like, you are trying to get in my head about this. And like, it's really nice. You're so lit up and passionate about something. This is what your tennis needs, Patrick says to Art. And so Art, like, what does that mean? And he's like, no, even if it's my girlfriend, I love this.
And he's like, and Art's like, I would never do that to you. I would never. They're so close. They're so fucking. I cannot express. Like he's still chomping on his fucking churro, and Art takes a bite of his churro,
They
and then
can feed each other churros.
Or no, Patrick takes a bite of his churro, and Art takes
Oh
like
my
a
God.
very ferocious like bite.
It's this physicality is when I find Patrick appealing. Like he's just and he like the fact that he clocked him and is delighted by it, and like this is when I was like, oh, I see what Katie meant.
No, don't get me wrong. Patrick's a little shit. He's a little shitbag. However,
Yes.
younger Katie would have eaten that up, and also
That's
current
what I'm
Katie
saying.
finds
Yeah.
it delightful because. So this is a slight tangent, but it's very relevant. One, we haven't really talked about, but this movie is shot so interesting because there's so many close-ups on faces, so much micro acting going in expressions, and often with the techno shit. And also, so a while back, I had this conversation with Sarah Simone that changed the way I think about like messy, dark shit. That she was talking about how like really good fiction that's dark makes you complicit in the actions the characters are taking, as opposed. So, and that's why like every bad decision. Objectively bad decision that any of these characters make, it's so like the movie makes you complicit. You are rooting for them to do the bad thing. Like you're like, I was rooting for them to do the bad thing. Normally like messy shit like this stresses me out. Like I'm like, no, stop it, you're being bad. But now I'm like, do it, be messy. And like I think it has to do with those close-ups of them being like you can see the moment they decide to do the thing and you're like, yeah. Like I don't know. There's just something about this that...
Well, I think I want to watch it a second time and see how I feel about it. Because it all just like clicked at the very last
initially.
second. And now I'm like, wait, this completely changes my... Because I think the fact that they set it up as this is a married couple, they're a family, they have a child, they have a life together. So when you're doing the flashbacks, or at least I'm sort of inherently rooting for them and seeing Art as the good guy because I'm like, oh no, he's the one who like is steadfast and they end up in a relationship together and this guy's a fuckboy. But then it all gets turned on its head. So it's like, would I
you
have
cannot
been,
convince
who
me
would
she
I
would
been
not have
rooting
married
for?
Patrick.
No, they would have been together forever.
Yeah. So like,
And like, don't get me wrong,
Okay,
they might have
sorry, I
eaten each
derailed
other
us.
at some point.
yeah.
you know.
She would have made
Like, it
him so
could've-
fucking good at tennis, and he.
Oh my
like,
God.
So
Yeah.
okay, so
Yeah.
but now, so Patrick's there. He's in the dorm. They had this really hot like hookup scene. Like this movie doesn't have explicit sex in it, but it is so sexy. And
yes. And so wait, she's sitting in her bed and she's sitting in like these very, very compelling panties. And then
but she takes off this
gray shirt
Yes.
that says "I told ya."
And he's wearing a white shirt when he comes into that room. He's wearing a white shirt.
Yes.
I clocked him wearing that shirt later. I didn't realize that was the origin
She's also
of it.
her shirt.
wearing a white shirt, a white oversized t-shirt, and some pretty key moments in that movie as well.
Uh-huh.
So
Yeah,
Yeah.
I clocked that too, but okay, I didn't catch the origin of
So
them.
she takes off her shirt. He takes off his shirt. Both same size shirt, it seems like. And they're hooking up, and he's kind of like, when were you going to tell me about Art? And she's like, is there something to say? Like, she's kind of feeling, you can tell that Art got in her head. Like, she's a little bit combative, like, and...
Both of their heads.
That's true. That is
Patrick's
fair. That's
too.
true. Yeah, no, that's true. Because he brings it up. Yeah.
So, as they're making out, he's like, yeah, when are you gonna tell me about like Art or whatever? And then as they're doing this, she's like, yeah, you could have won that match, but then you really fucked it up in like the third set. And she says a few more things like that. And Patrick's like, are we like talking about tennis? Because there's a lot of things that apply to both their love life and
jacking
tennis.
him off while she's saying this. It should be said. She
Yes.
is rubbing up on him while she's being like, you kind of fucking blew it in the third round or whatever. Like... Or this was it the second round? It must have.
That's your problem. Like you think it's already won or something, and
you think
applies
the
so
match
much
is
to like.
won.
He's like, wait, are you talking about Art here? Like
He's like,
what
are we
is
still
going
talking about
on?
tennis? And she's like, what the
Like,
fuck
I
else
thought
are
I
we
had
talking
won
about?
you.
Tashi.
Well, and that's the thing. Tennis is a relationship to her. Anytime she's talking about tennis, she is also talking about a relationship.
Yes.
And vice versa, I think, you know? I mean, at one point she's like, yeah, you maybe should be worried about Art because like he's so good looking and he's gotten better tennis since he's been here and like all these things. Meanwhile, still jacking him off.
Yep.
And then when he says, can we not talk about tennis right now? Like he wants to be there with her. This is one of those moments where he makes himself emotionally vulnerable by being like, I missed you. It's lonely on tour. We not talk about tennis. Like, I want to be here with you. And she's like, fuck that and fuck you. She gets up and off of him. She starts doing yoga.
She puts on
because
his
she's got
shirt. She puts on his shirt and starts doing yoga. And he's just like, what, that's fucking it? And she's like, no, I got to prepare for my thing. He's like, oh, but like, he starts kind of like needling her about her process. Like, oh, by meditating an hour, like, ugh. And because when him and Art were in the cafeteria getting their churro, like there's like a big ass sign about like the Toshinator or some fucking nickname about her. Like Stanford eats her out, like, or up, whatever.
Yes.
Maybe they eat her out too. I don't know.
No. She is their star.
Involved, it's fine.
Yeah. So he kind of like needles her about that.
And well, she says something about earlier. He was like, I don't need your fucking advice about the tour because you're not my coach. And she's like, I mean, maybe you could use with some coaching. Like that might help you at this point. And he's like, no, you're not gonna do this to me. I am your peer. I am not your fucking lapdog.
He's like, I'm not a member of your fucking thing. What are you? He's like, I'm your peer. And she just like stink face, like, get the fuck out.
And and now they are 3 inches away from each other.
Close.
Like posturing like two dudes in a bar,
close.
2 angry dudes in a bar. Are we going to throw punches or not?
She's like, you're not part of my fan club.
He's so emotive and like crashing against her, and she just shuts down and is so bitchy back, but like in such a cold way that she's not normally with him, I don't think.
Yes.
Like that's how she's with Art, is cold.
Well, and did you notice that when they met at that party, she says, I know who you are. You're Fire and Ice.
Fire and Ice. Yeah.
And she says, which one is which? And then what's his name? Patrick says, what do you think? And then they never talk about it again. But that is, Art is Ice.
Yep.
And Patrick is Fire.
Yeah.
God
and
damn
it's
it.
demonstrated in every element.
I still don't completely understand what happens in this scene, though. Like, why is she so
Because she
mean
thinks
to
he doesn't
him?
love her.
Like, what is the trigger? So you think it's really that Art got in her head?
Like, I think that she's stressed about this big ass game coming up. I think that she's looking forward to seeing her boyfriend because they haven't seen each other in a while. And right before she gets to see her fucking boyfriend, his best friend, who she knows they're like this, is asking leading questions and then being like, what, you don't, like, he doesn't love you. And like, even if she's what, like 19 at this point? Like, she's so fucking young.
Yeah.
And so I think that was my take on it. And then Patrick doesn't quite, like, he's trying, but he's still fucking Patrick.
Well, and I guess
Yeah.
Art kind of got in his head too, where like he's trying to be with her, and
she's pulling away,
talking about tennis and telling him that he hasn't won yet. And...
Yeah, and instead of being like, no, we're going to talk about this, they fight. I think they would have come back from this fight if the next events didn't happen.
Yes. But okay, wait. Because Tashi, her number one love language and obsession is tennis, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so at this point, Art has set the stage for Patrick to think that she doesn't take him seriously as a romantic partner.
Yep.
But everyone knows that Tashi puts tennis and love in the same category. And so every time she's now coaching him on tennis as they're making out, he's like, oh, you don't respect me at any fucking level. And so he's pissed off
no,
at that
this
and
is my
lashing
love
out.
language, bitch.
She's like, you don't understand me and you don't value me. You don't respect me. You say peer, but like you're talking down to me about like where we are. And why couldn't I fucking coach you? You know that we're just, like I feel like there's a lot going on here that, it's just like tennis. You know what I mean?
It's just like tennis. It's like a love, like, or except they don't exist. No. So they have a fight. So Patrick, being a little bitch, doesn't show up. Like, had fight, not showing.
Yeah.
Art's there, of course he's there. So Tashi comes out. She's
Yes,
obviously
he is.
pissed. She's not in the right headspace.
And she's playing aggressive, like
Really
but like
aggressive.
bad aggressive. She's playing recklessly.
Yes.
Is what she's doing.
And she breaks the knee.
She busts her whole knee out. She blows it out. Goodbye, knee.
I'm like, I can't look at it. It freaks me out.
It's kind of like that moment in Black Swan where she starts peeling back the skin on her finger,
Yep. Yep. No,
like it's
don't
this
want.
body horror, like.
Yeah,
Oh,
so
yeah.
she's like she's down. She's making wounded animal noises. I had a moment being like, why the fuck didn't they take her to the ER? Why is she still in the back medicine place? I mean, I guess Stanford has like good doctors or some shit, but like, why haven't you taken her to the hospital? Why are they being like, oh my gosh, her injury, when she's sitting there with Art with ice on it, and Patrick comes up wearing her shirt, being like, oh my God, and she's like, get the fuck out, and like. And he's like trying to talk to her and like how worried he is. And Art's like, get the fuck out. And so Patrick fucks off. And
because the two people he cares about most have
Yeah.
betrayed and rejected him. And so he takes his ball and goes home.
Because he's an
And
emotional
Art is-
child.
Yes. And Art is conflicted but smug. Like he feels bad for Patrick. Oh, this is one of my favorite lines. When they were back in that cafeteria, Patrick told Art that he's playing percentage tennis. He's waiting for Patrick to fuck up so Art can swoop in.
Waiting for him to fuck up.
Yeah.
Like, this is his moment.
And he knows that. And also, like, there's an element of, like, I don't know if this is conscious on his part, but he is absolutely like, oh, I can nurture you now. I can take care of you. You're not the powerful one now. Now I can take care of you. And I really...
Yes. She's a wounded bird.
Yeah.
Psych.
And
I didn't get.
She's just gonna make you. She's gonna stick her hand
That's
right
what
up
he
your
wants.
ass.
He's
and
like,
make you her
puppet me,
puppet.
Mom. Like,
Yes.
that's so.
Yeah,
you're
right.
She recovers enough to like sort of play tennis, but like it's really clear that her injury means she can't play on that level anymore. Like,
It's career ending.
yeah.
And so every single time something really important is happening is when they play the choral music. So she has this moment with Art where she's like scrimmaging and she's like, fucking hit the ball and try to fucking win. And then she falls
Yeah.
when she goes after the ball. So then she goes to sit at the base of a tree and like contemplate the fact that her career is completely over.
Rip off her knee brace dramatically.
Yeah, and these tiny boys are singing music about like, you know, how your
Tiny boy.
yeah, your life is over and stuff. It's a lot. I loved it.
Trent Reznor just goes hard with that choral music.
He does. It was wild. Okay.
So then Art and Tashi
But
reconnect,
before-
like, years later.
Is the bathhouse scene before or after that reconnecting? Is it after? It must be after.
Bathhouse? It's after. It's after.
Okay,
It's closer
sorry,
to
Karen.
when they
It's sauna.
finally
I
It's not
think
a
it's
bathhouse.
after.
It's a
Play the
sauna. Sorry, I'm
file.
thinking of Eastern
Yeah.
Promises. Anyways.
Oh, now I'm thinking of Eastern Promises.
It should have ended
So
like that.
Art is on the pro tour now. It's years later, and he and Tashi like shows up on the side of the court.
She's coaching some young girl.
Or she's actually not even a coach yet. I think she's like a tennis term, a hitting partner.
Oh, okay. I missed that.
Yeah.
And then I don't know how I clocked that, but yeah, when they're talking later, I was like, oh, she's not even a coach yet, and he's kind of offering her
That
coach
makes
role when she doesn't have
that's
a coach
manipulative
role
too.
yet.
Yep.
Because I was like, oh, he's offering a coach. She's already a coach. Whatever. No, that makes so much more sense. Manipulative.
Yeah.
Mhm. No, you can
Absolutely.
like kind of see that if she's doing that, that's probably what she wants, and it's like he's anticipating what she wants to get that access to her. And so yeah, he is like, come be my
'Cause they go out to
assistant
dinner.
coach, because she's like, you already got a
Like
coach.
they go out to dinner. It's
Yeah.
clearly a
Mhm.
date. She's dressed real nice. He's sort of like trying to be so fucking cool, like lounging sort of sideways in the booth. Like he's not sitting like a normal person.
No.
He's sitting like a bisexual. So
Yes. Oh my God. Those dirty bisexuals.
but it's like it sits ill at ease on him, in my opinion.
He's fronting.
I like the actor. I just hate that character so much.
Yeah. No, I mean, the actor, like, he does this role justice because it's so uncomfortable a lot of times.
Yeah.
Art isn't comfortable in his own skin.
Yeah.
And he needs somebody to puppet him. Yeah, you nailed it at that point.
Yeah.
So now when he offers her this coaching job, she's like, don't you think it's a little soon? And he's like, soon? I have no idea what you could possibly be talking about. And she's like, I mean, are you still in love with me? And he demurs a bit and like talks in circles, tells her how proud he is that like she didn't quit tennis and like la la la. And she's like, but dude, are you still in
Never
with me
answered.
though?
You never answer the question. And he's like, who wouldn't
And he
be?
says, who wouldn't be? And that's his line. That's his like refrain all the way through. Oh my God. Earlier, she Han Solo'd him so hard as she's talking about taking him to this podunk fucking tournament. As she's walking out of the room and he's like, Tashi, I love you.
I know.
And she coldly looks at him and says, I know. And then fucks off again.
Oh, I did not know what to do with that at the time. I was like, what just happened?
They hate They hate each other.
They
It's
hate each other.
Like, why are they still there? Everything about it makes no sense other than the child. But neither of them,
Nah, it's
neither
because
of them really
she.
care about the child very much.
I think. Yeah.
She does. They both do, but like we
But-
don't get
but-
any of that.
I also think that's intentional though, because that would pull the focus away. It also would affect the viewers' feelings on both Tashi and Art if we see them being really good parents.
Yes.
And seeing them as a proper
I
family
mean,
unit.
yeah.
I just clocked this later on when we see him in bed with that little girl, like, comforting her, sleeping next to her at night. I
His
was
daughter,
like,
not
I love him.
To clarify, he goes to
I'm
his
sorry,
daughter's
yeah, his
bed and is
daughter.
passed out. They're both passed out. Nothing nefarious.
It's so cute. And
It
I was
is
just
cute.
like, oh no, he's a good dad. Oh no. And then I started feeling a different type of way about Art.
But I think that's intentional.
Yeah, it was a strategic deployment of the
But it's
daddy
also
vibes.
like that. I think that's also
Yeah.
why we don't see them married. Like we don't see them get married. We don't see anything about their actual relationship outside
We don't see
of
the
as it
cute
relates to tennis.
flirting.
Yeah. So they have this thing of he's like, you can come be a junior coach or assistant coach or whatever the fuck coach for me and whatever. And she's kind of like, well, what about talks about Patrick a little bit. And he's like, oh, we haven't talked in years. And she's like, shit, I was a home wrecker. Like, damn.
And she's delighted.
She is delighted by
She's
it.
very
Like,
happy about this and smug about it.
so they go out to like his car and they're being really kind of like that first date thing, and he's just like, I feel like he was intentionally channeling Patrick here. Like, I just want to kiss you. That's not an Art thing. Art doesn't say shit like that.
But he said it so geeky, nerdy,
Well, because
weird.
he's Art. He can't, but like the fact that he said it
Okay.
at all.
Yeah, it was very like
Yeah.
uncertain.
Okay.
So it felt
Yeah, because he says, I
Art
really
to
want to
me,
kiss
yeah.
you right now, but I think you might think I'm a bad friend.
That motherfucker. Because he does it because he's like, she's still pissed at Patrick, I bet. She'll kiss me even if, like, come on.
Well, but then she says, to who? Bad friend to who? And kisses him. And like, I couldn't tell if she was saying, like, where he totally out of our lives, we're forgetting him, or if she's saying, are you being a bad friend to me? Like, so many different ways to take that clip, and it's nuts. And then they make out hard
And be
against
like,
the
you
art. It
aren't
was hot.
friends with him anymore. And also, now that you say that, it is an interesting callback to "you're a bad friend" that she said, because then being like, oh, but if you were a good friend to me, you told me that he didn't love me. Like, because that would be a good friend move if it was true. If it was true, to be like, hey,
If
just
it
so you're
was.
aware, but like, it wasn't true. So,
Okay, and now we get to one of my favorite scenes in present times, in mostly present times. She is sitting doing research on the like next competitor, and Patrick comes up to her in the lobby and he's like, hey, I want you to come for a smoke with me. I want to talk to you about something. And she's like, I do not smoke and I'm not going anywhere with you. And then he just sort of like is lurking.
he's tapping
Yeah, he's tapping his fucking cigarettes.
because he knows exactly how to get under her skin. And it's like that intimacy of like, oh, I know exactly how to make you do the thing that you say you don't want to do because I know you. And so they go out to the alleyway. He's smoking. She's like, don't.
I see you.
Yeah, she's like, don't fucking blow that in my face. He's like, oh, sorry. And he's like, I'm going to say something and it's going to make you angry, which is exactly what Art says to her later in the movie. And he's like, you should be my coach. Like, you should be my coach. Like, I have the talent. I just need a good coach, which is like, it's too late. It's too late, Patrick. And
Right?
she slaps the cigarette right out of his mouth, slaps him, the cigarette falls, and is just like, you're 31 years old. Like, you do better with a gun in your mouth than like doing like
you'd have a better shot with
Yes.
a gun in your mouth.
And he's like, I could
Yeah.
be great. She's like, you're 271st, which I'm like, you've been following his career still, Tashi. You just
And he's in the bottom end of that cursed 300
He
because he
is.
went after her and won that game.
yeah. And then he's
Oh
like,
my God.
what, Art's gonna give up. Is this when they have that conversation? Like, Art's gonna give up. You hate him. He's already given up, and the only reason he hasn't is because he's afraid of you, of disappointing you or making you mad or like whatever. He's like, I haven't given up, and there's no reason for you to go to the grave with him, kind of thing. Because for all Patrick's faults, he really does love tennis. Like,
Yeah.
I think he still does.
Yeah, he
I
loves
don't know.
tennis and he loves her in his weird narcissistic
And so he gives
way.
her
He
his
just
number, and like, and she
And
is
says,
furious.
if you change your mind. And well, she's furious, but she does put that number in her pocket
Immediately.
as she stomps
Immediately.
away.
Yes, she
Stomps away,
does.
slow motion,
Yep.
Bob swinging in the wind, and he just kind of smirks behind
My
her and picks
God.
up his cigarette and keeps smoking because he's trash. I love him.
And I feel like there's one more piece that has to come together before we're like, it's train picking up speed as we get
Yes.
through the end here.
And that is toward the end of the conversation, he says, does Art know about Atlanta?
Yeah.
And she's like, she doesn't say a word. She can't address it, basically. Or maybe she just says no or something. I don't know.
She kind of,
But
she like doesn't
then-
play into it, but it's very clear that as far as she's concerned, Art does not know about Atlanta. Joke's on her.
Yeah. Joke's on her.
Yeah. So now we get the sauna.
Which I was
we get the sauna?
And so
like, I was confused initially because like I didn't clock, I wasn't paying attention to hairstyles because they were just wet, and so I was like, is this Atlanta or is this current times? And then the second time through I was like, oh, it's current times. Art's sitting in the sauna, Patrick walks in, dick swinging in the wind.
Yeah. Yeah.
does
Truly.
like the leg up thing right up against
Penis
Art, like an artist
practically
being like,
brushing his
"Bro,
arm.
put your penis away."
Giant dick right there. He's like, you want some of this, bro? Even though he doesn't say that, he's thinking it. He's thinking it very deeply. And
He's advertising.
this
He's
scene's
saying
so
it with his body.
but he's like, cover up. Nobody wants to see that. Whatever. So he like sits down and does like the bare minimum to cover his junk. And like they have this conversation that's so layered because like I think Patrick, while being a little shitbag, is also being somewhat genuine. Like, I'm really excited to play with you again. Like, he misses it. And Art,
Yeah, I missed you.
yeah, and Art has so much resentment because of reasons. I think his reasons are that he knows that he knows his wife hates him, and he won, but he didn't really win because she hates him, and he's miserable.
He ended up with her and lost Patrick, and Patrick always loved him, and she hates him and is like with him for the wrong reasons.
Yeah. And so, but Patrick kind of says this, like, I can't remember the line exactly, but he's just like, oh, like, and he's like, what makes you think I think of you at all, kind of thing. Like, he's so dismissive and cold and hurtful. And honestly, that's when I like Art the most.
Well, because he tells, yeah, they're talking, and he's like, Art says to Patrick, I don't even think you realize how embarrassing it is that you're here at this Challengers thing. And Patrick is like, I mean, I don't know that it's as embarrassing as you being here. And Art says, you live here. I'm just passing through.
Oh,
and
I mean, by filthy, I mean like mean.
It's wild.
Yeah, he's vicious in this scene.
I love it.
Yeah, because he says nobody at this tournament, because Patrick says, you haven't beat me before. And because like Art's like, oh yeah, I'm a pro, I win a lot. And he's like, well, you haven't beaten one against me. And Art says, like, it doesn't matter. I haven't played or won against most of these guys. It doesn't mean they're in my league. And then Patrick looks at him and he says, I don't matter.
Yeah. Oh, and
And Art
rewind
has
briefly,
hard time.
very briefly, because this does matter. In the scene in the hotel lobby, Patrick's like, well, we could play against each other, like me and Art. And Tashi's like, you always choke in the second round or whatever. Like, you're not going to make, or the third round, whatever round it was that she's talking about when they're hooking up and she's jacking him off. It's the same round.
Yeah.
Well, and the other piece that's important from this conversation is there's something that Patrick is talking about, and Art's response is like, we were just teenagers, or like it was when we were
he's like,
teenagers.
is it
Patrick
upsetting
says-
that you think that that it's upsetting to you that Tashi might want someone like me or something like that?
Yeah, and he's like, we were teenagers.
Yeah, and he's like, when we were teenagers.
And Patrick is like, were we? Or something like that. Like,
he's like,
he questions the notion that they were teens.
Like, he sort of repeats it back in this way that you're like, oh.
Yeah. And then we get a very pivotal flashback to Atlanta 8 years ago. Patrick shows up when they're warming up, and he's in the shirt that says, I told you. And then later on, he catches Tashi.
Like the hotel, it must have.
Yeah, like late at night, he's walking by. He sees her having a nightcap by herself.
He's still wearing the shirt.
And he goes in.
Still wearing the shirt.
Still wearing the shirt. Very important. He goes in and stands by the table, and the camera does a close-up on her engagement ring. And he doesn't say a word, and all she says is, it was his grandmother's.
She
And
died
he's
of
like,
a
oh,
stroke.
how's she? Yeah, she died of a stroke.
I'm sorry,
And
I
that was
laughed
what Patrick
so
said
hard
earlier.
at that.
Same. And then, like, this is an almost wordless scene. He sits down. They're just, like, staring deeply into each other's eyes. She goes to lift her glass to her mouth, and he stops it and then drinks it. And now their hands are touching. And then all of a sudden, they're making out over the table.
Yeah.
And holy fuckballs.
And like Art is like coming down the hallway and like sees them because they're like in like the lobby or some shit. He sees them making out,
like the lobby bar,
and somebody comes, like a fan comes up.
No, he
behind
doesn't see them making out. He just them
he sees
looking
them
at each other.
Yes.
Very...
He sees a charged moment, and some fan comes and talks to him, and he like signs some shit. It takes 10 seconds. He turns back, they're gone.
So he knows.
Now, is Lily Patrick's daughter? Is she?
That's what I'm wondering.
Could
because she's approximately like 8-9 in there. Like she's.
Yeah, I googled it, and like the age, it's possible. Like the timeline is vague enough that it's it could be.
Yes.
I like that they sort of like left it open.
Yeah,
Our daughter, Patrick.
Our daughter. Well, and when they were talking outside of the hotel and he asked her to be his coach, she takes issue with him and she's like, are you saying that all art is to me is a racket and a dick? And Patrick is like, and from my perspective, he's not really even a dick, right? Like they haven't had sex in 9 months at minimum, right?
No, because the one time they try to have sex, they both cry. Like, what? They're iced out. They're
rough.
both iced out. There's a bunch of people in their fucking house all the time. Like, it seems like they're doing something with the foundation. Like, it's very much a business arrangement at this point. You cannot convince me otherwise.
Right.
Yeah, it's rich people shit.
Oh my God. When she offers to just like let him retire and they'll be rich people if that's all he can handle earlier in the movie, I was just like, oh my God.
She says that is cutting.
So after, so then I think, flash.
We go back to now times.
But like now times like the night before. So her and Art are in their hotel room. She's constantly putting on this lotion. I was so distracted from the fact that she opened the lotion and set it on the bed and it's never seen again. I was like, the lotion doesn't have a lid.
Where's the lid?
So he's getting ready. She's putting lotion on whatever. And he's like, I'm going to say something and it's going to make you angry. Which, she had this conversation with fucking Patrick like a couple hours ago. And he's like, I want to quit. Like, I want to be done. I want to retire.
I want to retire regardless of whether I win or lose the whatever big thing this year.
And she's like, if you lose tomorrow, I'll divorce you. And she says it with such a fucking... I'm like, I think she's serious.
Well, no, wait. So he says, tell me it doesn't matter.
Right.
And she says, I'm not going to tell you that. He's like, tell me it doesn't matter. Tell me you'll love me even if I...
Which is him
tomorrow.
fundamentally misunderstanding who she is as a person. Like, she's been consistent. Is she a monster? Maybe. But she's been consistent. Yeah. And the only reason she's with him is because he brought her in as a fucking coach so he'd get close to her and allowed her to coach him and to realize her dreams through his body.
And live vicariously through him.
So, she's...
But why can't she just coach somebody else and let the man retire?
Hates him, Jenny.
Because that's a big link to Patrick.
And I also think that he's really... We're not shown this, but so I'm projecting because I hate Art, so grain of salt.
Please.
But I feel like he really, from what we see, he really encourages her to use him vicariously. Like very much like instead of being like, hey, I just want to take you out, he's like, no, get me through tennis. Like, I'll get you a coach. Like she would have gone out with him. She went out with him before he offered her the job. So he chose that route, and then he's upset that that's all she cares about.
Oh, yeah. That's what I mean by, like, for a while I felt bad for him. And then by this point, I fucking hated him, and I didn't hate her yet. I hated her, like, 5 minutes later, and then it was just like, I hate all of these people because, they're like, manufacturing their own downfall here. They are, like, goddamn Greek tragedy, where, like, they have set themselves up and then hate it and take it out on everybody else.
But they only take it out on the three of them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because Zendaya is so sweet to her daughter in this movie.
And her mom.
She's like, of course we can
to
watch
her
Spider.
mother.
Yes. Yeah. So as they're sitting there, she says, well, and this was so interesting to me because her exact phrasing was, if you don't win tomorrow, I'm leaving you. There. Does that help you?
Yeah.
Because she thinks she's motivating him. And he's at the point in the relationship.
I was like, does she mean it? Does she not mean it? Like, what?
I still don't know.
Did she just say it to motivate him, or is she completely
I think it's
serious?
one of
I don't
those
know that
things.
she knows.
No, I think it's one of those things you say the thing and then you're like, fuck, now I've said the thing and this is the thing.
It feels right.
Yeah. And so he comes over and like puts his head in her lap and then like is rubbing on her he starts kissing on her and it's like getting kind of hot for a minute, but there's like this weird distance between them when they're making out. Like, and then eventually he just sort of kisses her shoulder or whatever and puts his head in her lap and they cry.
And he says, will you just hold me until I fall asleep, as she's petting his hair.
And her face She's
Yeah.
disgusted. Like,
just like,
ugh.
you mother.
I don't know that she's ever hated him more than that
And that's
moment.
what drives her to be a reckless, crazy person. So she gets out, she puts on a white t-shirt, a white oversized t-shirt, and sends a little text message. And then, and for the framework, Patrick's beating Art in the end, like, that we keep getting flashes of. He's actively,
we've kind of been getting flashes
he's
of the
winning.
game.
And
They're very close.
Yeah.
They're very close, but Patrick's ahead normally.
thank you. Because I was like, I don't understand how this works. The fucking sets, what are these numbers? But okay. So she goes out and just jumps in the back of his car. She's like, I told him you're my Uber, and like, just drive. And so he drives around, and they like are having this like heated conversation. And I think he's really
She gets in
thinking,
the front
like,
seat.
yeah, she gets in the front seat, and he's really thinking like, yeah, she's gonna say yes, or like whatever the fuck he's thinking. And she's like, I want you to lose tomorrow. And that's when he's like, what the fuck? You can't do that to him. Like, you can't do that to him. Like, that's the worst fucking thing you could do to him. Knowing he fucked his wife, this is the worst thing you could do to Art. And she's like, I got to take care of my two little white boys.
Tennis-loving sociopaths.
Yes. So, and this is when he grabs her, like, does a grab on her the same way he did on Art. And he's like, you know the most fucking infuriating thing about you? He's like, is that... Or she's like, I didn't come here to fuck you, like that early on. And he's like, oh, I guess, Art, damn it.
Yeah.
And he's like, the thing is you did come here to fuck
so
me,
funny.
but you're a goddamn liar. And he's like, you're a fucking loser, which is like the meanest thing you could say to that woman. And so she's like, fuck you. Like, they're yelling at each other. She's like, take me back. The wind's whipping around. Like,
There's a huge storm.
It's very windy.
they don't know if they're going to be able to play tomorrow.
They maybe should be out in it.
So they... Like, she's like, pull the fuck over, like, when he calls her a loser, and she gets out and starts walking, and he's like, the hotel's that way. Like, they're yelling at each other, wind. They're
that
just
moment
like,
in the argument where you're just like, God damn it, let me walk in whatever direction I'm fucking in.
right. And then the techno starts, and it's like the close-up of his face and the close-up of her face, and you kind of see her, like, expression give a little bit, and he gets that fucking smirk, and then they're making out on the side of the car. Sorry.
Before that, she walks back up to him and spits in his face.
I forgot about that.
And then
yeah, that's kind of important.
then there's like the let's look at their faces, and then finally he smiles, and then she launches herself at him. The storm is blowing around them. It's bananas.
Do you think that because Art puts her on a pedestal, and if she maybe didn't notice it at first, maybe she did. I think she liked it at first. Like, that's got to be exhausting. To like constantly be the deified version of like the person your partner wants, and to spit in this man's face and have him be like, smirk. Like, she's being her worst self, and he's just like, fuck yeah. Like, that's hot.
And in the car, that's what he says to her. He says, you like exactly one thing about me, and it's that I can see through all this bullshit, and I see exactly the creature that you are.
Loser.
Because that's the creature I am.
Yeah.
And like, it's so hot. I'm sorry. Jenny, how do you feel about this? Tell us. Because you hate it.
No, I mean, this is the other instance where it, like, when he gets physical like that, all the rest of the time I'm like, what is no? And then he does that, and then that whole scene and the way and yeah, exactly what you're saying. She's sort of like mommy dumb to Art.
Yes.
And that is fucking exhausting. She's always got to have the answers, and she's always got to be like motivating him and propping him up,
puppeteering him.
The just like calm, cool, collected, and yeah, in this instance, she can just be like vile. She spits in his face.
She can be feral.
That is, like,
She's vicious.
And he's like, give me more.
Worse than slapping him. He just like takes it and is like,
and
what
then
else
they
you got?
are
And
hooking up on the side of the car. It's really hot.
And
then
bang in the back of the car.
Then it flashes forward to they've already had sex, they're naked, and he's like, I'll do it. And she's like, how will I know? And he's like, you won't. Like, you won't know. And it's just this it's such an interesting power play on his part. Like, I like it.
Yeah. Well, and I feel like it's one of the reasons is because right before that, he says, I miss watching you play. You were just like ferocious and so beautiful and all this stuff. And I feel like after making that kind of vulnerable admission, because that's what he thinks that is, because they both speak in tennis for their love.
To be fair, that probably feels very vulnerable for her as well. To like, because Art doesn't admit, doesn't like. It's like one of those things of like, we don't talk about what happened, how good you were before, because it'll hurt you, and so we aren't going to talk about it, which is like hurtful in a different way.
Yeah.
It's like pretending it never happened.
So now she goes back to the hotel, and when she gets back there, she goes into her room, and the bed is empty. And then she gets like panic on her face and turns around, looks for him. And Art is asleep with their daughter. He's obviously gotten up while she was gone and like comforted her daughter. And so like he knows that she wasn't in the room for a period of time. But like, did he think more into that? Did he think she was in a bathroom across the palatial hotel suite? Like what? What do you think was going on?
Or is this just her MO? And like he goes to bed the night before his matches, and she fucks off to hotel bars and does her own thing.
It's
maybe.
And they wouldn't talk about it anyways. Like he would never bring it up. It would never get discussed. And so then we now are flashing forward to the current fucking like
game.
The set. Like it's a set that if Art wins it, he wins it, or the game that Art win. I don't know, whatever. It's a thing that if Art wins the thing, then it's the thing. So, and she's watching. She's a little bit nervous. Art is feeling fucking good because he's like doing well, and like Patrick does a couple of fuck ups like that are. He's just tired, maybe.
His emotions get the better of him.
Yeah, he's serving into the net.
And like, but he keeps looking at her.
And as he's looking at her, because, she tells Patrick the night before, you have to do it so that he doesn't know.
Yeah.
You have to do it like he earned it, because otherwise he won't believe it and he won't have the confidence he needs to go into the U.S. Open. And so in this moment, she is eyeballing him hard. Because all of a sudden, Patrick's serving into the net or out over and over and over again. And she's like, you fucking do
really
this.
Hard for no reason.
Yeah, like, don't let him win this way. This is not the way.
And they have this charged moment where they're like, Patrick's like thinking. He's using his little brain. He's thinking. He's obviously contemplating something. And she is kind of like, what the fuck's going on? And Art's like, the fuck's going on? And like he gets a penalty or whatever for like waiting too long. And so then all eyes on him, he slowly takes the ball and presses it to the triangle thing under the racket and meets Art's eyes really intensely. And Art goes, like, does he go fuck
and
off?
Art just stands up.
And Patrick
so he
nods
stands up
smirks.
and he serves it. And Art doesn't react. Art stands there as the ball goes careening past him. He hits the point. And so it's like, then they're staring at each other. And that's when Patrick nods with the smirk.
He nods.
And then Art yells,
like,
fuck off.
And it's like an exaggerated, like, yeah, I did fuck your wife, in fact. Like, just.
And so then Art, like, lets the rest of that go. He just lets him serve until
I think
Patrick
it's
wins
one more
section.
serve, and like he has to be prompted to like get in position or whatever because he's like fuck off, and they're like, they like penalize him, whatever. And Tashi's like, the fuck's going on? Because she doesn't know what this means. She has no idea. And then,
but she knows something huge.
Yeah,
happened.
she doesn't know that it's just been revealed, but yeah, she knows something that she doesn't understand
and
has
then
just
start
happened.
the new game. It's a new game, right?
It's a tiebreaker of some sort.
So now Art has the serve. It's Art's serve.
And they just have like this moment of like perfect understanding of like, it's like all the shit falls away and it's too... Go, Mel.
Yeah,
Mel.
Art makes eye contact with Patrick. He's about to serve, and then he looks at him even more, and then he does like a micro half smirk.
Yeah.
And then Patrick sees the micro half smirk, and he does a half smirk. He's like, hold on, this sounds pressing. And then Art serves the shit out of the ball. They start volleying back and forth. And then it gets to the point where, like,
it has such cool shots too. Like you see, like underneath the line, you see the ball. You are the ball at one point.
You are the ball. Yeah.
And so before
It was so creative.
But leading up to this, all the games up to this of the current game that they're in, Tashi has, like, you know, it hits the whole crowd looks left, looks right. Tashi has not been doing that. But she is this time. She's doing it. She's getting tense. She's getting into it.
She is glued.
And they get closer and closer. They're rallying, they're doing the thing. And like Patrick like hits it up and Art goes up, like just runs and is in the fucking air, slow-mo, and like over the net, right? And Patrick catches him and they hug, and Tashi goes, "Come on!" And like it's just this moment of perfection that it's like two friends finding each other again and her seeing some good fucking tennis.
Her seeing the 15 seconds of tennis she's always wanted to see in her whole life.
Yes.
I'm like, okay, so now I need to talk to you about what you think is going on in their brain parts, all right? Like, for Art, is this liberating for him? Is he now thinking like, oh, she's not perfect, and so I can just be a gremlin and do whatever I want and like love this friend I've been cold shouldering for her, you know?
Well, but for
I feel
himself
like Art
too.
felt like in order to keep Tashi.
Yeah.
Well, yeah. But like in order to keep Tashi, he couldn't engage with Patrick anymore. So he lost that friend. So now that Tashi is like off the pedestal, he feels liberated and now he can be with his friend again. Is it also the cuckold thing where he's like, that's fucking hot that my best friend had sex with my wife?
I
like,
think
what's
he's just
going
so
on?
happy to have them both in his life in that moment. Like, I don't know. I don't know what the future holds. In my perfect world, she starts coaching Patrick and like they just become a happy little like triad and raise their daughter.
And what's his name retires and he can be the dad and like the ball boy.
Which is all he wants to fucking do is retire and probably be a dad. And so like everybody gets what they want. And like, and then I think she would take Patrick to the last year of the whatever the fuckery, win a bunch of shit. I don't know. And then, you know, I think that would be the perfect thing. Granted, I don't know, because I think Patrick also might be an addict. It's sort of like nodded to for 1 second in one part of this movie.
What was that?
So
it seems like he's.
Yeah, I wondered about that. I'd forgotten about it.
It's in my notes. It's like, why are they zoom in on him scratching his inner elbow?
On him, like, really
and it's got like a little bruise type situation.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So.
Yeah, I feel I want to watch it again now and try to understand, because I was just in such shock watching it the first time that it had turned. I did not see that coming. And because I was like, I don't even know who I want to win. I hate all of these people. What's going to happen? What's going to happen? What's going to happen? And that hadn't occurred to me as an outcome. And so then I've just been like trying to rewrite the whole narrative. And yeah, I mean, my one complaint is that like we get the Tashi makes them kiss thing. And we get the, like, Patrick waves his dick in front of Art's face thing. But we don't really ever explore any kind of sexual tension between the two of them outside of that in a way that implies that it would, like, carry on. Like, they are very much just friends, it seems like. And I would have liked to see that evolve into, like,
Yeah.
I mean, but playing tennis is like being in love, Jenny. It's like being in love or good sex.
Fair.
Or not existing.
Yes.
Or
who
not existing.
knows, frankly?
Or not existing.
Well, okay. Yeah, I want them to like go on and be a triad, obviously, because that's what I always want. I don't know if they're capable of that.
Oh, no, they'd blow it. Patrick would... I don't know. I think that Tashi is one of those people that is always striving, and so gets very frustrated with people around her when they're not also doing that. And I can't see Patrick holding that up for, like, he works as a contrast to Art in this moment, in this time, but overall can he actually like do that and not disappoint her?
Yeah, probably not. Well,
Right.
that's why I was like, she needs to just start coaching like college kids who she can like grab when they're malleable and then like develop them and get that drive out of them. And then you start in with a new younger kid, but like this coaching somebody who only has a year left. And she's going to have to find a way to fill that hole for herself at some point anyway, because neither of them are going to play forever. And so it's like, she's a gaping chasm that's just like gonna keep sucking everything into the toxic place
She
until
figures her shit out.
she can find some way to fill
I do
that
find
hole,
it interesting
if
that
she ever
it's not
does.
really suggested that they have their daughter in tennis.
Yes, I was just about to say,
Oh,
I am so happy. I am delighted that it doesn't seem like either of them are going to push the daughter into tennis. Because, like, there are several times when the daughter's like, you're always talking about tennis. And she's like, well, I know, honey, but, like, you can watch Spider-Verse or whatever. And at no point is it suggested that either of them are going to become, like, tennis stage parents.
yeah.
And I was so relieved.
I didn't clock that.
about
but
that.
yeah, you're right.
I don't know.
You got to watch it again.
I mean, I
Yeah.
think it will make them more interested in her. but-
Zendaya
I
says you
know.
have to watch it
Yeah,
3
I really-
times.
I do.
That's what she was saying in all the interviews. She's like, you'll have a different feeling
Done
about
and
it
done.
after every time. And I was like, I don't have a different feeling about it other than more delight after the second one.
Yeah, no, I absolutely
Yeah,
have to
yeah.
do the second time.
Well, because it's so because from the interviews, the way that the dynamic was in the interviews, I went in thinking she ended up married to the dark-haired guy without realizing, because I was like, oh, she gets his number. Okay, like something. And then I was like, oh, what's happening? Oh, like...
Yeah, you spend the entire first pass going, what the
Yeah.
fuck is happening?
I was just
and
like,
who am I supposed to be
the whole
rooting
time.
for? And like,
I mean, in my notes, it literally says the sentence, this is a romantic psychological thriller.
Yeah.
Because that's
yeah.
how I felt the whole time.
yes.
I was just like, I'm like on the edge of my seat and like, are they going to kiss or are they going to kill each other? And like, what's happening? How's it going to go? Who's going to win? Like, oh my God.
But thank you, Katee, for taking us on
Thank
that
you for watching.
fucking journey.
And, yeah. Like,
Yeah.
I want to know what everybody else thinks the end means.
Please.
I need to know more
like
perspectives.
a lot of the perspectives I'm seeing are like, poor Art, Tashi's a monster. And I'm like, Art is also a monster.
No. They're all
Art knew
monsters.
what he
They're all
was
monsters.
doing. They're all monsters
Yeah.
by the
All of
end of
them.
it.
Which is like,
They just
I-
need to be each other's monsters.
that's the only, I think that's why
Yes.
it works for me, is because Art is a slimy little shitbag. And if he was actually a good friend and actually a good husband, that would be a lot harder to stomach of Patrick and Tashi being messy. But they're all messy.
Like, why did he and Patrick stop talking after Tashi's injury? Like, Patrick didn't do anything
No.
that heinous.
But
he didn't show up for her match because they fought. That's not, the fact that she got injured isn't on him. And like, and he wasn't immediately dating Tashi.
Well, I have 2 theories about that. One is that I think both Tashi and Art think that she wouldn't have gotten injured if she wasn't playing mad and reckless.
But would she be mad and
So-
reckless if
But that's
Art
still on
hadn't
him.
fucking put that shit in her ear? They
No,
wouldn't
I
have
hear
fought
you. I'm
without
not
Art.
saying
Yeah.
I'm not
No,
saying
yeah,
it makes
but yeah.
sense.
Oh, but from
Oh, yeah,
their
fair, fair, fair.
perspective.
I think
Yeah,
that they're
no.
like this terrible thing happened, and to make it make sense in our tragic, like, you know,
Yeah.
They're blaming
they're
him.
like he is the source of it. And then the other thing is, I think Art knew deep down that if Patrick was ever around, Tashi would choose him. So he had to
Yeah.
cut Art or Patrick off
Hmm.
in order to like position himself to be chosen.
Which is fair, because that's exactly what would have happened.
Yeah.
The movie's so good.
Yeah, it was a fucking
Yeah.
ride. I was very stressed. I didn't know if I hated it.
It
for
was
a
so
long-
sexy,
a
though.
lot of it, I was like, I might hate this. I am so angry and uncomfortable and confused, and I am so frustrated with all of them. And then it just all came together, and I was like, oh, I think I might have loved that.
Well, and the second time through, you catch more of the, like, we didn't even talk about, but like before, at some point, that first like 13 years ago thing, Patrick holds out his hand and Art spits his gum into it. And Tashi does it before their big
and
game.
Tashi does it
Yeah.
to him.
It's just, it's so, like, there's so many moments like that are mirrored that is so intentional, and like how, I don't want to say like incestuous, but like that's not the right word, but like how like intertwined they all are.
It's like enmeshed intimacies.
Yes.
You know, like they don't necessarily happen, all 3 of them together, but all 3 of them are so close
Mm-hmm.
that they end up playing sort of like similar roles with each other, I feel like.
Well, and one of you said it earlier, but it's like Art needed one or the other of them, and that they kind of fill similar roles for him. Like, he needs that strong personality that he's kind of sucking from.
But like, what happens when you spend 12 years sucking from it? Your wife hates you. Your wife hates you.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because all he gave her was tennis. Do you think if they if he had been stronger, or let's say if she had been married to Patrick, who challenged her to talk about things other than tennis, do you think that would have forced her to expand like her shit? You know what I mean? Like, because Art gave her this, like, this is tennis, you're my coach, I'm going to be tennis and you be my coach. And Patrick, in that moment at least, was like, let's talk about something other than tennis. Like, I'm not your fucking fan club. And like, do you think that would have forced her to move on from her injury in a different way if they had stayed together?
Maybe.
Is she capable of that, though?
I don't know. She might have just dumped him and walked off. But like, it's an interesting component.
Yeah.
Oh my God, this movie's so good.
Thank you for watching it, because
like
I had so much.
I'm so sorry. The choral music of it all. Like, I don't know. It's
when she's sitting at the tree, that was when the choral music was just like, what is happening? Like,
she's having a revelation.
And then there was a point, I think it's the sauna scene, where the music almost becomes louder than the dialogue. And like, it suddenly ratcheted up, and it did. There was so much of it that was like framed as though it was a thriller or horror movie, and it just, the tension.
It's
like,
just tennis, guys. It's just tennis.
And the acting in this thing.
I loved a tennis movie. How did that happen?
I mean, the acting in this movie was bananas.
They were all god tier. Like, Zendaya just keeps getting better, and I liked that she did this movie, which is like quite a bit different than some of the other stuff she's done. I'm delighted to see where. Oh, and then I think, no, never mind. That's the Bridgerton guy. I don't know. All these white guys look the same. Like,
have I told you about my very selective celebrity fixation with Zendaya? I haven't. Okay.
No.
Every once in a while. Okay, I'm just weird. I don't care about celebrity couples in general. Never have. Don't give a shit. I need to know that Zendaya and Tom Holland are okay. Like, sometimes every, I don't know, month, 6 weeks, I'll just like do a Goog on Zendaya and Tom Holland and be like, what's them in the news? Are they still together?
Did you see her interview for Dune where they're like, who in the cast has the most Riz? And she's sort of like, she's like, Tom Holland has the most Riz. He's not in that movie. He's not in that movie, Jenny. She's just talking about, she's a my guy. She's a my man. I love that for them both. Like,
I really love that for them. And yeah, I only care about it because my first exposure to it was the Umbrella video and her reaction to it.
Yes.
And like, her reaction to him.
Yes.
And I mean, having seen it, I can't even imagine witnessing that in person.
I'm
on
getting
stage.
chills right now.
How could you
I
not
also
fall
really
in love with the man?
he did this some interview at some point somewhere. Like, he just looks at acting like a job. Like, in a way that's like, so just like, yeah, it's just, I show up for it and then I go home. Like, I'm not trying to, like, you know, and then he had to take a break. He took a break for a little while after whatever, some recent movie. But like, he's just seems really down to earth in a way that she also is a little bit.
Yes. Yeah, very grounded.
I don't know. Like, she's just, I don't know. I don't really fuck with most celebrity couples because I feel like they're all monsters. Like, you have to be to succeed in Hollywood to some degree. But like, there's Zendaya and Tom Holland are one that gets me.
I really like. I they can't break up. I don't know that I'll think love is real anymore. You know what I mean?
No, that's so, Kevin Bacon and Kira said
they're so perfect.
Whatever breakup. They've been together for like
7,000
years.
Yeah, I don't care.
You clearly haven't seen
They're
their videos
so
where they're
delightfully cringe on like TikTok.
Barn. And
yeah. Oh, I have not.
They have no fucks. They wear like matching outfits.
Matching outfits are like supporting
they play
like
music, and they have farm animals.
Oh fuck, what organization was it? I can't remember now, but it's like very much like fuck you bigots or whatever. Like they're dancing like little like old people.
Yeah, they're not trying to hide anything. So like they look their age, and they're pretty spectacular.
Okay,
too.
I might go down a Kevin Bacon whoever rabbit hole. That sucks. That doesn't pass the Bechdel test. That statement.
Well,
Kira.
Sorry.
She was in The Closer. She's been in other shit too.
Kira
but-
Sedgwick. Yeah. I feel like when we did an intro at the beginning and we were talking about the Kickstarter and Melody's microphone had gone real wonky and it had gotten very silent, and if it came across as very awkward, it's because Katie and I could not hear Melody and we're trying to pretend
I'm
that
like,
we could.
yeah. But also, I turned in a book today, and I was like, yeah, talk about the other project, Katie. I'm like, what other project? Has there ever...
It's a Kickstarter and it's doing a thing and I can't even pitch anybody
Yeah,
anything
they're
right
both
now.
in deadline hell.
Although I did pitch my agent a Somnophilia Dracula retelling this afternoon, and she was on board, and I'm very excited. So
Yes, please, Jenny.
I was so scared to get on the phone because I was like, this is crossing a line, and she was like, yeah,
No.
we got this.
Yeah.
You can nail this. And I was
Yes,
like, yes,
you
I
can.
can.
That sounds
Yes, I
incredible. I want to hear more about that later.
can." Yeah.
All right. Do you two have lady loves?
I do. I gotta look it up real quick. Give me 1 second.
Okay. So one of my OG favorite romance authors is Karen Marie Moning. And she did this Highlanders series back in the day that is just fucking ridiculous in the best possible way. And then she wrote the Fever series and it was really good. And then it kind of goes off the rails in later books. And she disappeared for a while and has a new book coming out in October called The House on Watch Hill, at Watch Hill. And I read it and was so scared because I love her so much and really, really wanted it to be
yay.
good. And it's really good. So I am very excited. It's spooky. It's a spooky gothic house. And the main character is a witch, but she doesn't know she's a witch yet. And is it's this weird town. And she's brought in to be the heir to the Cameron line. And she doesn't really, you're kind of figuring out the world as she's figuring out the world. And there's a vampire witch guy that lives in a basement in the garage and he's very sexy. But then there's this also Irishman that she meets at a bar and she fucks him real good and she's thinking about him the whole book. We don't know who he is and he does eventually reappear in a very exciting way.
Whoa.
And it just hammers my id buttons with competition and danger and everybody's pretty and it's just the perfect escapism. And does everything that I wanted it to do, and it made me really happy, and I'm very exciid for everybody to read it.
Yay.
She was one of those authors that was very instrumental for me. Yeah. I also have a book rec, and I don't necessarily, but caveat, I don't necessarily rec this for everyone. I don't. But, however.
Check trigger warnings, friends.
I'm laughing because I know
no,
what
for
the
real.
book is.
So basically what happened is that Hannah Witten, out of the blue, emailed me. And I'm always I love her books so much. And she's like, Katie, I read these two books. It's a duet or duology, whatever. And I think you'd like it. It's kind of and I did not read the email after that. I was like, fuck yeah, Hannah, wreck me some shit. I went and bought both books, did not read the blurb. This is important to notice.
She's going in blind.
Not prepared for anything. The book is called Then Earth Swallowed Ocean by Shiloh Sloan, and they're on KU, I think.
20 minutes later, I'm getting
what
text
the
messages
fuck
from
am
Katie.
I
They're
reading?
just fucking unhinged.
I'm like, what the fuck am I reading? So we start.
He's eating her and fucking
but
her
first-
and...
But first,
Sorry, I'm getting ahead.
So first, I open this book and I start reading, and it's this boy. He's 15. He's turning into a werewolf for the first time. He eats his shed human skin upon turning, and I'm like, oh, okay. So horror, sure. And then we meet.
I hope that's allowed.
I didn't know that was a thing that happened. Then we meet this heroine who is woozy. She's all fucked up, and her dad is hanging from a tree dead, and she's like, "What the shit? I gotta come down." She's all discombobulated. And then she meets what appears to be the literal devil from the Bible, maybe, ?
Okay.
And he's
devil.
like, hey,
Yep.
girl, your dad murked you and then killed himself. And if you don't want to go to hell because, folks like you burn up dry paper down there, you gotta kill an evil soul and trade it for yours. Yeah, you have a
Bring me
month.
a
Good
soul.
luck.
We'll switch
And
it
she's
up.
like,
Ooh.
okay, probably not going to do that. But I've never seen the ocean. Like, her dad was abusive. It's fucked up. So she is driving, and then this takes place after World War II in the South, American South.
Okay.
Driving, goes to a gas station. I will not narrate the whole book. I'm just going to stop after this. And meets a very sexy man
He's real charming.
who, in his point of view, is like, I'm gonna eat this woman. And not in a fun way. I'm just gonna eat her because I eat
Literally
women. Because
eat
I'm
her.
a werewolf who turned for the first time at 15 and has been basically like
Cannibaling
lone
since?
wolf feral ever since. He's bad, Mel. He crosses. Content warnings include dubious consent, non-consent, murder, gore, blood, violence, everything.
Just
fucking everything.
bad.
So
Okay.
he like
Bad. He's a bad man.
but he's like, she smells so fucking good. They have this like charged moment, and then she's like, I gotta get the fuck out of here because this is not okay. And he like traps her against the side of his van and is like taking literal bites out of her thighs as he's fingering her to completion. And then she shoots him 3 times. Now, at this point, I'm like, what the fuck am I reading? Is this horror? Is this horror romance? Is this... surely not. Surely not. No, it's horror romance. And the prose is, like, gorgeous.
She runs away. It's
like,
so
earthy gorgeous.
stupidly pretty. It's, like, ludicrous
So
how
it
pretty
ends
this
up...
writing
So
is.
his... And backstory, his older brother is 10 years
Wait,
older.
wait. I'm so sorry. I
Yes.
disappeared. I don't know what's been recording and what hasn't been. Would you mind starting at he takes bites out of her thighs while fingering her to completion? Is that so you could do?
And then she shoots him 3 times. And...
That sounds
and
fair.
runs away and sort of accidentally on purpose runs to the cabin where he lives with his older brother who's 10 years older than him, who was mated, did have a kid, went off to fight in the Second World War to take care of his family, and left his 15-year-old brother with his wife and baby child. Came home 4 years later
What happened
to
to
a
him, Mel?
feral
What happened
brother
to
and
him?
a whole lot of blood and no bodies, and is like, my brother fucking killed my mate
He
and
ate them.
child and
And
ate her.
ate her.
Is that what happened?
And there's-
I don't know.
And they're
I
still
don't know, maybe.
roommates?
There's like this like he feels
It's not
responsibility
his fault, Melody.
because like he failed his brother. He should have been there. Like his dad was there to guide him through.
Nobody was there to teach
His dad
him.
was there to tell him
How
like,
to
don't
not
break your
be
mate.
feral.
Like when you fuck her, don't break her because you're strong and she's human and
Uh-huh.
like you could kill her. But like his brother doesn't have those breaks and doesn't have that training and didn't have that community, even though it's gone now. And so he just she's his mate and he voraciously wants her in all ways. And
Wow.
He's gonna like choke her to death with his cock at one point. The brother has to walk. He gets
he gets-
shot a lot.
She definitely shoots him right
Basically,
up in the
shooting
head.
him is the
And
only
then he
way
fucks
to-
her in his dead wolf body. I don't know,
Yeah.
Mel. It's crazy. It's crazy. It's if you
It's-
like deeply dark romance, horror romance, horror romance. Do not come at me at social media and be like, Katee, why did you recommend me this book? I don't necessarily recommend it. However, if anything that I've said sounds
Make good
less like,
choices.
Katee, you should be committed, and more like, I think I would like to check that out, you should check it out.
Check it out. Yeah. Wow.
Yeah.
What's it called?
Then Earth Swallowed Ocean. It's a weird title.
I'm into
It's a
it.
weird book. I really liked it. The second book is The Brothers. But I had to
I'm
take a
all
break
about
after that. It was
this.
very intense. So I'm like, I'm going to take a little break and then I'm going to come back for the second one.
Yeah, hell yeah. Okay, I have 2 lady loves. One is the Ultimatum, Marry or Move On out of South Africa.
Oh, I think I saw a preview for this.
It is fantastic. It feels like a generation ago reality TV in that like everyone is so like pure and I don't know. I feel like at least in the reality TV I watch out of America, everybody's a little bit like, we're not going to say that because I'll get my life ruined on social media
Yeah.
or like whatever. And there is
Mm.
none of that in this show. Like there's there's some mean girling, so like trigger warning for a little bit of mean girling and body shaming that's not cool. But other than that, like there is a messy, like quasi not cheating. There's this just pathological liar in it. And more than anything else, I really, really just loved watching actually fat women being just treated like the sex goddesses that they are. You know what I mean? Like, it was so nice to see different bodies out there and have them be in a position of desire. And like admiration and all of that. It was really, really, and like just like the outfits these women put together are just so good all the time on the show. And like, I know that that's a prerequisite or whatever, but damn, they do some great work. Anyway, The Ultimatum South Africa, marry or move on. The show is just as confused about itself as it always has been. Is it a show that brings couples closer together by showing them what they miss, you know, being apart? Or is it a show where they come in with one person and then find out whether or not, you know, maybe their perfect person is actually in a very small sample size of the population that was also cast on this show? You know, like, who knows, frankly?
It's amazing how the producers work like that.
Yeah. Anyway, highly recommend. All right.
Yay.
And then my other lady love is this goddamn Black Rose auction. You have to go, listener. It's Kickstarter, Black Rose auction. You have to go. They've done incredible things. Yeah. This iteration of all, like, the art is amazing.
My favorite thing is, so the art, Sarah Bertoli did her wonders again, and I have this character named Reaper, who's the auctioneer, and the art that she did of him is magnificent, and we were working with these people who were doing some graphics for us, and we were like, can you animate him? And they did.
I love it.
They made him move, and it makes me so fucking
I think I've actually
happy.
seen that. Yeah. Oh, it's so good. Awesome. Yeah.
But
Honey, thank you for coming on.
It was a delight, as always, to see you, darling.
Yeah. All right. Keep being a badass and love yourself as much as you love just being a tennis-loving sociopath. Right?
Yes.
Like, just knowing the passion that you have.
As much as you love tennis.
Tennis. All right. Bye.
Bye.
Heaving Bosoms is produced by us, Melody Carlisle and Sabrina Bradley. Editing is done by Melody Carlisle.
Our theme music is by the incredible singer-songwriter Brittany Fonts, and our art is by ultra-talented author Kate Pryor. If you like our show, remember to follow us on your favorite podcast app, rate us 5 stars, leave a nice review, and of course, tell all your friends about us, even if they don't read romance.
If you want to get in touch, you can email us at heavingbosomspodcast@gmail.com. If you want more of us, visit patreon.com/heavingbosomspodcast. You can also find us on Instagram @heavingbosoms, on TikTok @heaving_bosoms, and in our Facebook group, the Heaving Bosoms Geriatric Friendship Cult.
Head over to our website to sign up for our newsletter, get our Reading Embrace printable, and check out my audiobooks at heavingbosoms.com. All right, we'll be back next week with more swoons and snark. See you then.